Hello everybody, this is CaptainJack. I am one of the Minecrafters and I'm here with another nuclear power tutorial. I'm also here with the priest of the town, and we have just come from church because the town wanted to get together and pray that I didn't blow their whole town off the face of the earth. This tutorial video actually is not a tutorial at all, it's just a walkthrough of something cool that I made. I'm going to be showing you a few very simple reactors and some practical applications of reactors, and I'm going to show you a fairly complex reactor. Now, as I was actually making this video, my phone beeped, and on it came through a message from YouTube that said, "Why does everybody show really complex, totally impractical reactors that you couldn't possibly make unless you were super high tech?" Well, he is right. All the reactors that I typically have made have been really complex, really ridiculous, and either impractical or impossible to make at all. So in the first part of this, I'm going to show you a few really simple ones and what you can do with nuclear power, and then I'm going to show you a complex one using Applied Energistics, which is a really cool mod that we just kind of absorbed and transformed our base into, or the base that was there before we blew it up, because we tend to blow most of our stuff up, or at least I do anyway. So without further ado, let's go over here and check out what the blacksmith needed. Now, the blacksmith came to me and he said, "CaptainJack, I am so sick of charcoal and burning all of my ores in this crappy little thing, so I want an electric furnace." So I made him an electric furnace. I installed it in his little blacksmithery here, and it needed power, and the guy insisted on nuclear power. So I made him a nuclear power plant, and as it turns out, it was the talk of the town because they had never seen anything like this before. They had never seen nuclear power. They had only seen little generators and wind turbines and stuff like that. So they thought this was pretty cool. And what I made for him was a simple little 30 EU per tick nuclear reactor with no added chambers onto it. As you can see inside here, it's got 6 simple uranium cells with some reactor heat vents, which don't all need to be in there, in case those of you with a keen eye will recognize. That's just to keep it symmetrical, don't ask. It's a complex. But yeah, this is a little tiny nuclear reactor, and it's putting out 30 EU per tick. And I have it wired in with this copper cable, really simple, basic cable, into the top of this little electric furnace here. And as you can see, it has power. And so the blacksmith is now able to smelt all of his stuff with nuclear power. Maybe it's overkill, maybe it's not. But that is one example of a really simple nuclear reactor that you can use early on in game. Now, we've never actually chosen to go that route, to use nuclear reactors that early, simply because a lot of times they are pretty scary. But something as simple as this, really, that nothing can go wrong. Now, knock on wood, but nothing's going to go wrong with this reactor. It's not going to melt down. These things just dissipate all the heat immediately, and these will just run. Really simple, really safe, and something that hopefully you might find practical. Now, another question people have had in almost every reactor video that I've ever made is problems with filling up their power supply units, which is your bat box, MFE, MFSU, what have you, you name it. People say, "Well, I have this cool reactor, and I'm not getting any power from it. So what's wrong? Help me, please help. Holy crap, I don't know what's going on." Well, 9 times out of 10, this is the problem. The problem is that transformers, which this is a high voltage transformer and this is an MFSU, the problem is usually the orientation of your machines. It's extremely important to note that transformers have 1 input facing and 5 output facings. So you see on my screen here, I have 3 yellow output facings and 1 red input facing. And you can see that it's hooked up properly from my nuclear reactor here into the input facing. And then any of these can be output facings. And this is going into the MFSU. Now, the difference between transformers and storage units is that storage units only have 1 output facing and they have 5 input facing. So it's basically the exact opposite. So as you can see here, I have 1 input here, and I have it coming out of an output side into an input side of this here. And the green side, which there's only going to be one of, is the output side. So if I want to power something with the energy I had stored in here, it would have to come out of this side right here. So really, really, really important to note the distinction between transformers and power storage units. Now, if you're concerned that you don't know what these actually look like because you're not using the Saks Pure Beauty Craft for Tekkit Lite texture pack, have no fear. I will have an important announcement coming at the end of this little walkthrough here. So yeah, this is how it's supposed to be set up. So if we have this really simple, again, 40 EU per tick reactor. This has got 2 dual uranium cells, and it's got some component heat vents and reactor heat vents inside of there. It's going to start loading up this MFSU because everything is flowing smoothly and correctly. Now, if I was to change the orientation of this transformer and make the input side on top and make this an output side, you can't put power into that side, and so you're not going to get any power, and it's very likely that that's a lot of the issues that you might face when you're setting things up. So if I change that back to the correct way, you'll notice that my MFSU is starting to fill up again. Now another problem, and probably a more common problem, is that your MFSU is actually the thing that's facing in the wrong direction. Because since there's only one output facing, and since people tend to get confused between the similarities between transformers and storage devices, they think the same thing. Well, there's only one input facing and 5 output sides, which is not true. This is the output side. So if you click on this, it's not filling up because this, despite what might make sense, is not the right way. So you're going to want to change that back to the other side, and there you go. That's going to start filling up. Now another problem people encounter is when they have extreme voltage reactors, which is anything I believe above 2048 EU per tick. They're concerned about the pipe melting. As they say, every time I place a pipe here, the stupid thing melts, and I don't know what to do. Holy crap, please help. Well, the best thing that you can do is you can place, or the only thing that you can do actually, I should say, is you can place an HV transformer directly up against your nuclear reactor chamber. Now, anything that's extreme voltage is going to have 6 chambers, I believe. So you wouldn't want to put it just like this because this is actually the main reactor. But you're going to want to put it right up against there. And that way the extreme voltage can go through the HV transformer and get transformed into 512 EU per tick packets. And that will be evenly distributed throughout your base very safely. How do you change it how do you change the orientation of this machine now? Because this is clearly wrong. As we just explained, the transformers only have 1 input facing and 5 output facings. And if this is the input facing, well, it's not facing the right way. So you're going to want to take your wrench. I have a prototype Omni wrench here because they're so universal. And I'm going to shift, right click. There we go. And you might have to take my word for it. I can actually kind of show you down here. This is yellow as well. So we have 5 output facings, and the only one left is the input facing, which is going to be right here. And then you can wire that up appropriately, and your pipes will not melt, and you'll be able to get the power that you're producing from your beast reactor. So again, another really simple reactor, only this is 4 uranium cells, unlike the 6 that we had before, and these dual uranium cells are making more than the 6 single cell uranium sticks in the other one, and that's because that they are together, and each one puts out 5 per tick. And if you put 5 and 5 together, well, you're going to have to look at all that math, and you're going to have to watch the original Tekkit Lite IC2 or the IC2 nuclear power tutorial that I have put out. Another thing you're going to see in this video is just like this. These are industrial information panels, tons and tons of questions about these things. We do have a tutorial out about how to use these. If you're not sure what's going on here, simply subscribe to our channel and check out the industrial information panel tutorial video, and you will know everything you need to know and a lot more about industrial information panels. Anyways, let's get on to the real show. This is what I really wanted to show you guys. Since we moved our base over to Applied Energistics, there have been lots of changes, and they have been for the better for sure. In all of my other nuclear power tutorials or nuclear power videos, I've basically used Red Power 2 to insert and export things in and out of the reactors, and AE just makes it a lot easier You don't need bluetricity. You don't need retrievulators, retrievers, the whole 9 yards. You can make a fully functioning reactor with Applied Energistics. And if you're not sure how to use Applied Energistics, make sure you check out our 4-part tutorial series that will tell you all the basics and all the advanced things that you need to know about this mod and how cool it is. It's not actually going to show you how to set up a nuclear reactor like this, but once you do know the basics, then you'll be able to do anything. Alright, now here we are. We're inside the Pearl here, and this is a nuclear reactor that is going to put out 4360 EU per tick, just like the Black Pearl from my other video, except this one uses AE instead of red power 2. Now this reactor, just like the video that I have out on the 2040 uptime fully automated self-sustaining reactor, this is fully automated and self-sustaining as well. Now I'm going to explain what this reactor is doing and what this system is doing, and then we're going to briefly take a look at all of the components that are inside it. Now what we have here is a basic 6-chamber nuclear reactor right there, kind of suspended in the middle. We've got a coolant injector, and we've got a reactor containment field projector on top, and that's being powered from below. And what this is doing is it's making all of its own quad uranium cells, and it's making all of its own coolant to keep this thing cooled down as it's powered up. And this is our ME controller. Again, if you don't recognize it, you're going to have to check out our tutorials. This is our ME drive. It's loaded with a bunch of 16K drives. Very overkill. These are some ME monitors, which just deleted that, which I've done about 400 times because I haven't locked the screen. That screen is locked. Yeah, so this is the controller. This is a monitor. That's a molecular assembly chamber down at the bottom there. And I'm just going to kind of go through this from the top to the bottom and show you what's going on. And before I go any further, I just want to clarify something. This nuclear reactor has no practical application. Literally none. It takes way too many resources for way too much for what you're doing, basically. Just to give you an example, it takes 500 UU matter in a 12-minute span to make 40 quad uranium cells, and that's not including the amount of UU that it takes to cool this thing, which is actually not that much. But just in case anyone had any questions on whether or not this was practical, no, it is most certainly not practical. It's just pretty cool, and it's just demonstrating what you can do with this mod. So I'm going to take, and you can see here that this is the same setup as the Black Pearl reactor. It's an extreme voltage reactor. I'm going to delete all these quad uranium cells, and I'm also going to set this so that it's only active with the signal, so it's not going to give me anything. And what I'm going to show you is how this thing operates. So right now we have an empty reactor chamber here, and we want to fill it up with a whole bunch of quad cells. And so if I set this ME export bus, because it's exporting quad uranium cells, I want it to craft these things always. That's going to start sparking the system, and RD1 has popped in there. It's going to start telling the system, we need to fill up this whole nuclear reactor, and it's going to take 40 of these to fill it up. And this particular design is going to make one cell at a time. Now there's other faster ways that I could use to make this thing make these things a lot faster. But this is just kind of a quote-unquote basic design. It's got no minium stone recipes inside of it. It's all done with furnaces and compressors and furnaces, and said furnaces already. Okay. Really simple design, and I'll show you how it all works. So you can see we've got 3 quad uranium cells already. And again, it's going to take 12 minutes to fully fill all of those things there, and it's going to take 500 UU matter to do it. So let's see what's going on down below. Since we need a whole bunch of different components to make these quad uranium cells, we're going to need dense copper plate, which is coming out of here faster than we can actually see it, but that's what it's doing. Every time it gets to 8, it's going to make a dense copper plate, and this is a singularity compressor. You can see here I have a pattern provider, or I use a pattern provider to encode one of these blank ME patterns to make dense copper plate with 8 copper, and that's in a ME interface on top of a singularity compressor. And the system knows that this knows how to make dense copper plate, so it's going to send in 8 copper, it's going to pop out a dense copper plate, and then I'm going to use this import bus to suck it back into the system. And you'll also note here that I'm using the molecular assembler chamber as sort of a device in which items can pass through. That eliminates the need for some excessive pipes. Now this ME level emitter is set to constantly emit a signal. I don't think I need that gold box in there, but it is what it is. Because singularity compressors need a redstone signal to constantly stay wound up, so to speak. So that's just there to keep a redstone signal applied to this box, so it's always going to make stuff at a very, very high pace. I have an electric furnace here that is running 24/7 whenever I'm requesting these things. Again, this is one of the ways that I could have made this thing faster, but I chose not to. This is making all the copper bars that I need for these right over here. So they're going out of here, into the import bus, into here, and then back out in the system getting crafted by the assembly chamber here. So this is what this is making, constantly requesting copper bars. This electric furnace here, which might take a little while to go through, is going to request tin every single time that needs some tin to make empty cells, and it's going to send 4 tin dust in here, and the 4 tin dust is going to get smelted into 4 tin bars, and then the tin bars are going to be crafted in a kind of diamond-shaped pattern to make a empty cell. And we're going to see that here in a second. There we go. Just made 4 bars, and it made 16 cells, so that's not going to power up again for a while, but I just wanted to show you guys that, how it's making the empty cells. Every time we need some more uranium bars to make our single cell uranium, it's going to request a couple of those. We want a dual cell, so it just made 2, and that gets sucked into the system. And so this compressor here, hooked up to, again, another level emitter, which is keeping this wound up, is requesting uranium bars, and this is a completely unnecessary ME interface hooked up to make dense copper plate. This back here is where we're creating all the scrap to make all of our UU matter. And this is exporting cobblestone into these recyclers, which in turn is making scrap. It's not making scrap at a pace that I want it to make scrap at, just because of what kind of scrap I'm using and the way I'm generating it. But if this was left alone for a while and it dumped a whole bunch of cobblestone in the system, it would make scrap very quickly. So this is taking the scrap, it's going into an import bus, it's sucking the scrap back into the system, and it's dumping into the mass fabricator above. And this is just telling the import bus to dump cobblestone into here and to make scrap out of it. So that's what's going on down here. We have scrap generation, we're making dense copper plates, we're making tin, and then we're making stuff here, uranium bars, and we're making copper bars all the time. So that's what's going on down here. Now there's a few patterns that don't belong in here. This one here doesn't belong in here, and this one doesn't belong in here. But this is just telling the system how to make these things. It's telling it how to make single cell uranium sticks, dual, and quad. It's telling it how to make copper dust, empty cells, all kinds of fun stuff. It's telling it how to make 9 lapis with 4 UU matter. This is giving the system all the information that it needs to make this stuff. And again, I'm not going to go into depth on it. Check out the tutorials to find out what it's doing. Now, if we look in here, you're going to see all kinds of stuff flashing in and out. You're going to see this copper dust flashing in and out. It's going to make 8 of them. It's going to shoot them over here. There's scrap coming in and out of the system to make cobblestone. We'll see that in a second. And we'll see over here what kind of stuff it's requesting to make these quad uranium cells. You see it's working on this right now, and once it has 2 of these, it's going to pop back and it's going to reset, and then it's going to start all over, and then it's going to request some different items. So that's the crafting monitor. It's just telling the system kind of what in the world's going on. And there we go, we've reset, just made another quad cell. Now it's going to start off with the basics. Bam, 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 bam. Really, 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 really cool. Alrighty then. So that's what's kind of going on down here. Up here we have a export bus exporting lapis lazuli into this coolant injector. Now it takes a ton of UU matter to load this thing up. Hopefully you've gotten some from quarries if you actually are making this thing in real life. Tons of UU matter to make this. You don't actually need that much. You can set a level emitter to only keep 64 at a time in there. But again, that's completely your choice. Now above the main nuclear reactor, we got a few things going on here. We have these igneous extruders here, and there's 3, 6, 9 of them. I have them kind of incognito on the side here. So there's 9 here, 9 here, 9 here, and they're all making cobblestone full time. And they have relays down the center attached to ender chests at the bottom, and then I have an import bus importing the cobblestone directly into the system. And that cobblestone is being thrown into the recyclers way down below, which is being turned into scrap, which in turn is being sucked into this machine right here. It's going right into the mass fabricator, and it's nighttime, so it's not making anything, but if I were to turn this back on, it's making UU matter at a fairly decent pace. There we go. We got one every maybe 10, 15 seconds or so, or 10 seconds. Making a bunch of UU matter for me. So that's what's going on up here. So we have scrap generation, we have our mass fabricator, we have power from HV solar arrays coming into the mass fabricator, and the more HV solar arrays you have, the faster you're going to make UU. Again, I just limited myself to a tiny amount of space. This thing could be expanded to make UU matter much faster than the system could ever use it, which again is fairly impractical, but if you have a lot of them, or if you have an HV solar array, could make something like this maybe the talk of your town. I don't know. So yeah, here we go. This is it. And let's check out our progress right here. There we go. It's almost full of these quad uranium cells. Now, one more thing I want to show you guys, because this was asked of me a lot, and you can see that this is depleted by a bunch, and it's still going down steadily. A fairly common question is, well, how much lapis does it take to actually cool this beast? And people think it takes a lot of lapis, and it's actually not nearly as much as you may think. Now, if you count the amount of LZH condensators in there, I think there's 14 or so. There we go. We're ready to go. Ready to turn this baby back on. If we flip it on, you're going to watch this, and it just dropped by 2. That's because some of them were near depleted because I was running it for a little while. But if you check the lapis meter, you'll notice how fast that it's going down. Anyways, the point of this is it's not going down very fast at all, because it doesn't really require a lot of lapis to cool. You just need to make sure that you have enough lapis at all times in your system to cool the stupid thing, otherwise this whole thing is going up in smoke. So you can see it's not requesting lapis very often, and every 4 UU matter is going to give you 9 lapis. So there we go. It's not using a lot of lapis, and the thing is on clearly. It's being cooled, and it's taking a long time. All right, well, this is it. This is CaptainJack's Applied Energistics nuclear power plant. Again, we really like that mod. It's done a lot to change our server. And one of the other questions, or the last question that people have consistently asked me, is I'm a hands-on learner. I want to see this for myself. I want to poke around. I want to tear stuff apart. I want to know really how this thing works, because I couldn't possibly go through every single thing in a tutorial video like this. Well, lucky for you, I finally decided to put this thing up for a world download before I blew it up, because I don't know, I just blow up all the stuff I make for some reason, and it seems to have caught on with the rest of the Minecrafters. But yes, if you would like to see this reactor in the default texture pack because you're not running on stacks, that will be your opportunity. You can download this reactor, you can look around, poke around, and if you have any questions or comments, you can please ask. Again, I want to reiterate, this is not a practical design. This takes way too many resources to make and to keep sustained. It's just an example of something that you can do with the really cool Applied Energistics mod. Hopefully, this has helped you out. Hopefully this has possibly inspired you. And we hope that you have subscribed to us. If you have not already, please do so. We appreciate all the subscriptions. that we get. We appreciate them, and we are going to continue to make videos until forever. This has been CaptainJack with another nuclear power tutorial, this one with Applied Energistics. Make sure to check out our website, we're theminecrafters.com, and make sure to check us out on Facebook. We're also theminecrafters.com on Facebook. Thanks for watching, and as always, my friends, stay poised.